Ladies and gentlemen, it's the comedian.
The telephone rings and Mrs. Kelly answered it. She said, yes, who's that? This is Murphy here from Ringside. Is that 999? She said, no, this is 998. God bless him, she said. Would you mind running in next door and telling the brigade the house is on fire?
The American fellow walks into the bar, you know, and he said, I'll pay $100 for anyone who can sing me a quaint old Irish ballad. Nothing. He said, I'll pay $500 for anyone who'll sing me an Irish song. I want an Irish folk song. In the corners, the two of them said, so he goes up. With a toot on my flute and a beetle and a beetle and a hop and a beetle and a diddle, dundee in the corner and we placed it at the wall. Oh, had to beat the gaiety, I fell the flute at ball. So he gives her the $500. He says, that's fantastic. And they walked away and said, they won't believe us when we get back to Swansea, will they, boy?
Irishman went into the dentist giving him an injection, and he fell asleep. He wakened up, he hadn't a Barney's grate. Not a tooth in his head. And he said to the dentist, we'll only ask for one tooth to come out. The dentist said, I'm a trade unionist. One out, the lot out.
Come here, tell him. Thank you very much. Fella in court, the judge says, now, did you pinch these flowers from the park? He said, no, Your Honour. They were planted on me.
Because they're on go slow now, aren't they? British Railways. What a nerve they've got to say go slow. Anybody notice any difference? They've always gone slow. I caught a train 3 weeks ago from Liverpool to Manchester. It took 5.5 hours. 5.5 hours from Liverpool to Manchester. We got to Manchester, the fella sitting opposite me says, well, that's the worst part of the journey over. I said, why, where are you going? He says, South Africa.
That was a good one about the plane going across, you know, the plane flying, like, and the intercom's left on, and the captain's talking to his mate. The co-pilot says, Harry, do you know what I'm going to do when we land? I'm going to have a nice cup of coffee, and then I'm going to make love to that gorgeous hostess. Of course, everybody in the plane heard it, you see. And the hostess is on one end, and she ran down the bloody alleyway to switch it off. And the little old woman said, don't worry, he's got to have his coffee first.
A little lad ran in the house and he said to his mother, I've torn my trousers, I've ripped my trousers. She said, well, I'll have to mend them now, I've no others for you to wear, take them off. So the little lad took his trousers off and she's mending them and he goes out of the kitchen, this lad. A minute later, she hears some tramping about in the basement, in the cellar. And she goes to the top of the stairs. She says, are you running about there without your trousers on? And the voice comes back, no, madam, I'm reading the gas meter.
So this is in the middle of Glasgow. See? Right, Wally, especially for Wally. This woman was walking past some men. They were putting this telegraph pole up, GPO engineers, and she heard some filthy language. Terrible. She was fuming about it. She wrote to the Postmaster General, and he in turn wrote back to the foreman of the job and found out what was the language and why it had happened. So he got a letter back from the foreman saying, he said, well, sir, it's like this. Me and Wally are erecting this telegraph pole, and I was at the top of the pole, and Wally was down at the bottom, and I had a cup full of boiling hot lead, which I accidentally spelt doon. Down his back. To which he looked up and said, could you be a little bit more careful next time, Wally?
Hey, there was a fella, you know, and he went to a psychiatrist. So psychiatrist says, now then, can I help you? He said, well, to be quite truthful, he said, my life's just been a failure. He said, well tell me about yourself. You know, how do you mean? He said, well, As a lad, I passed me 11 plus. He said, and I went to high school and took 10 O-levels, 8 A-levels. Went on to university, got a degree in chemistry. Then I got a good job with ICI. See, chemical engineer, top rank. He said, well, what are you on about? How do you make out your life's been a failure? He said, I wanted to be a window cleaner. And then this woman went to the doctor, and she was a good woman. She says, doctor, she said, my husband beats me every night. He said, well, try playing something you're good at.
Listen, I'm going home last night in a car, see? On the side of the road, there's a bird thumbing a lift. I thought, handy, handy. Pulled over, listen, got the bird in the motor, right? No messing about, straight in the lay-by. I don't play games. I said, all right, darling, this is it. Get in the back. She went, no. I thought, hold up. I said, get in the back. She went, no. I thought, stroll on. I said, get in the back. She said, no. I said, why not? She said, I want to stay in the front with you.
No, it's same with this race relations board, you know. It's a wonderful scheme, that, you know. I'd have been on that if it hadn't been coloured, but it's a good scheme, that. My mate wanted to be on that race relations board. But he went to Enoch, he said, I'd like to be on the board, like. So he made him walk plank.
Two fellas walking down the corridor in prison. One said, we're making a break tonight, are you coming? He says, no. He says, why not? He says, because I'm the warden. Little Amy Goldberg's in hospital. The surgeon came up, he said, we got some good news and some bad news, Mr. Goldberg. He says, what? He said, good news and bad news. He said, oh, dear me. He says, give me the bad news first. He said, we've got to take your feet off. Aye. He says, what's the good news? He said, well, the fellow in the next bed wants to buy your carpet slippers.
I see Ireland's not sending the rocket to the moon this week. They can't find a bottle big enough to take the stick. How about that? Eh? Oh, no, please. Carry on, please. I'm not begging. This is true, this, you know. It's a true story, this. There was an Irishman on this building site eating this big piece of gorgonzola cheese. And he dropped it and he couldn't find it. Two other paddies come up later on, working on the same site. One's like this. Hey, Pat. Can you smell anything? Can you smell out? You know I can't smell nothing. I've got a broken nose. Well, here's my hammer, break mine.
Casey goes up to Flanagan, the foreman on the building job. He said, pardon me, Mr. Flanagan, is there any chance of getting a start? I hadn't worked for years now. He says, well, now, he says, there's not much of a chance because we haven't enough work, actually, to keep the men going that's on the job. He said, well, it doesn't matter, I'll not do much. So he gave him a job. That's not the end of it. Actually, I didn't think you'd laugh there. But actually, what he done, he said, well, I have a job going as a hood carrier, but you have to be fast. Well, he says, I'm fast. He said, you're as fast as that fellow O'Reilly. He said, so this fellow O'Reilly filled the hood full of bricks, up the ladder, threw them down, turning round, and his foot caught in a tubular scaffold, and he went, bang, fell 70 foot. He says, by God, he's fast all right, but will he last?
This American fella is driving through Southern Ireland in his brand new Cadiddly-Dack. And he went past this farm, you see, and the farm keeper just laid on the gate and says, oh, sure the pale moon was rising above the green mountains. He got out of the car. I said, do you know? He said, I just got in from the States. I've driven around your country. I think it's really wonderful. I really do. I really do. I think it's marvelous. It is. And I just want to say, is this your homestead? Do you live here?
He said, yes, sir, yes, this is where I live. This is my farm here, he said. I own the lot. I own this gate. I own this very gate that I'm leaning on, so it's mine. And that field's mine there, sir. That field's mine there. I own the lot, sir. It's all mine.
He said, oh, it's very nice, but it's so small. He said, back home I got a ranch in Texas. He said, I get out of there at 6 o'clock in the morning and I jump into my car and I drive around all and I inspect every acre that I own and I don't get back till 5 o'clock in the evening.
He said, yes, sir. I used to have a motor car like that, sir.
Murphy diced into the supermarket, stole 2 yards of black pudding. 2 yards of it. That's not counting the circles on it. Diced up the road and the policeman after him and he grabbed him and all the black puddings fell onto the ground and the policeman said, at last I've got you with the evidence. He says, God bless us, I dropped me rotary beads.
This pal of mine, he was a bit of a jack of ledge, you know, and he won a few quid on the pools, about £37,000. And this was, now you've got to bear this in mind, this was 12 years ago. He goes out to Australia, and with a lot of hard work and a little bit of luck, he made a lot of money. He started off with 5 acres of land and 6 sheep. Today, with a little bit of luck and a lot of hard work, the same man has got 6 million sheep and 500,000 acres of land. And he's riding up and down his land on his horse one day, giving it plenty of that wallop. All of a sudden, this Cadillac pulls up, and this yank went, hiya, Pally. I went, hello, pal. I said, hey, man, is this your spread here? Yeah, he said, it's all mine, it's all a lot of it. Terrific, isn't it? I said, how much land you got here, man? He said, land? 500,000 acres I got. I said, I land in it. I said, hey, back home where I come from, we can get that in my backyard. He said, yeah. I said, how many sheep you got here, man? He said, sheep? Sheep? 6 million. That's a lot, isn't it? I said, man, back where I come from, we eat more than that for breakfast. He thought, hold up. I said, hey, man, is that your pad there on the... He said, pad, that's my house. 47 bedroom, that's got. That's big, isn't it? He said, man, that wouldn't make my lean-to on my place. As he said that, a kangaroo went past. Wallop, wallop, wallop. The yank said, hey, man, what's that? He said, what's the matter, you prawn? Haven't you got any grasshoppers where you come from?
Give hush. This fellow woke up one morning and he was about 1.5 feet off the bed and he couldn't understand it. He put his arm around his back and he thought, what's that on my back? And there was a hump. One of those. I thought, that's amazing. I had a hump on my back before. I'd like to get rid of this. So he did a few sort of exercises and he still had a hump on his back. So he put himself with a mangle. And he still had a hump on his back. So he led under a steamroller. And he still had a hump on his back. So he finished up at a faith healer's. And the faith healer said, I'll get rid of that hump, brother, if you believe. He said, I believe. He said, what do you believe? He said, I believe I got a hump on my back. He said, he said, if you have a bit of faith, brother, he said, go home tonight. He said, get in front of the mirror and sing a hymn. That's all you got to do is sing a hymn and have a bit of faith. And tomorrow morning you'll wake up, your back will be like that, straight as a die. He said, you want to have a hump there then? All I got to do, brother, is sing a hymn. He said, so all you got to do, off you go, son, off you go. He said, thank you very much. So he went home, opened the front door, got inside, and he got in front of the mirror and he thought, this is it. I don't know him. What am I going to do? I don't know him. He did the next best thing. He sang 4 choruses in the Desert Song. Went to bed, woke up the next morning, he had 2 humps on his back.
Well, I must tell you, we got a new priest in the parish a few months ago. He said, marrying the old parish priest doing a sermon on a Sunday. And when he finished, he said, Father, that's the greatest sermon I've heard in all my life. You had that congregation spellbound. Where did you get the courage of your convictions to deliver such an eloquent sermon as that? And the old priest says, son, I'll let you into a secret. I've been 40 years in this parish now. That glass of water I had in the pulpit this morning, it wasn't water at all. It was neat gin. And I have a few sips of that during the sermon. It settles me nerves, gives me great courage of my convictions. They're frightened to miss here on a Sunday. So the young priest says, next Sunday, Father, I'm doing my very first sermon. And I'll be a bundle of nerves. I'll try that, the glass of gin. So he gets in the pulpit Sunday morning. It was his very first sermon. Gets back into the vestry. He said to the old priest, "How did I get on, Father?" He says, "You did very well, son, but you made a few mistakes." He says, "Well, what were they, Father?" He said, "Well, first of all, son, when you finish a sermon, you're not supposed to tear your bits of paper up and throw them at the congregation. Secondly, you're supposed to walk down the steps of the pulpit, not slide down the banisters. Thirdly, David slew Goliath. He didn't knock 7 bloody bells out of it. And fourthly, his sling was full of shot. So
Two little boys at school, one says, "Do you know your brother Jim?" He said, "Yes." He says, "He's spoiled." He says, "Oh, no, he's not." He says, "He is. Just you come round the corner and see what the steamroller done to him."
So the two lads from Barnsley, two miners were sick of all the strife from Barnsley. So in the end, they went across to America. They got on a pit in Texas. And the fellow said, "Now then, friends," he said, "that sounds like Huey Green, doesn't it? Now then, friends." He said, "Lads," he said, "we got you here in the States." He said, "Now I want you tomorrow, you go out, you go and get 3 weeks' rations." He said, 3 weeks' rations? "Oh, got me snapped in here." So we take him Barnsley, snapped in, brew. He said, "You get 3 weeks' rations." He said, "What do I want 3 weeks' rations for?" He said, "Well, it takes you a week to get out to the mine, and a week to do your work, and a week to get back." He said, "No, when you're at war with Vietnam, you're pinching their bloody coal."
Try to imagine, going back years and years, going back to the Danish days, now to Denmark, all them geezers with the horns out their head, Vikings, that was them. There's a cove, say, in Cornwall, and one of these Viking ships comes into the cove, and all the oars are dead upright, and all the shields are all sparkling and shiny, and it goes right to the beach. And as it goes onto the beach, another one comes round the corner. All the oars upright, all the shields sparkly and that pulls out the beach. And out the second one gets a Viking, 14 foot high, big fella, 19 foot wide, and he was the top man, he was the governor, see? And he went right up the cliff and stood up there with his hands on his hips like that. All these brass buckles all over him, lumps of gold hanging up his ears, cur runch. And as he got up there, another Viking ship come round, and all the oars were all in the water. They were all falling all over the place, all the shields were crashing in the water, while up, cur runch. And there's all Vikings all hanging over the side with sweat running down their faces. And it hits the beach wallop, and they all fall out of the boat, crash in the water, all soaked, all rotten. And they're lying there on the beach, and all of a sudden the top man comes down the cliff, and he goes up to the first boat, and he says, "Pillage." And he walked up to the second boat, and he went, "Burn." And he walked to the third boat, and the geezer on the deck went, "Please, please, not rape again."
Give us. These two pit ponies, they was in the pit one day and they was having a chat, and one of the little, because they do have a chat, these little ponies, because they work very hard, as you could probably imagine. One little pit pony, his name was Fred, and the other one was called George, and Fred said to George, he said, "Do you know what I'm going to do?" He said, "I've been tired." He said, "I've been working 3 shifts a day just lately." He said, "What with all the short time and everything?" He said, "And we never get paid for it or nothing." He said, "When the fellas come in this morning," he said, "I'm going to just roll over on me back." He said, "I'm going to stick my legs in the air and I'm going to start a whinny. Well, they'll think I'm ill, see, and he won't take me to work." And his mate said, "Hey, you sure you can get away with that?" He said, "I'm going to have a go at that." He said, "That's for sure." A few minutes later, the fellows came in and across on his back, legs up in the air, he started to whinny. They thought, "Hello, he's ill. Won't take him to work." Took the poor pony out. He was out all day long, came in on all fours. He said to his mate, he said, "I've been there," he said, "all day. I've been doing yours and mine all day long." Tell her, he said, "I'm fit as a fiddle. I done nothing." He said, "I've been eating hay all day. I had a marvellous time." "You know what I do tomorrow?" He said, "When they come in, roll over your back." He said, "Start whinnying in. They think you're ill, they won't take you out." He said, "Oh no," he said, "I ain't gonna do that." He said, "I did it this morning." He said, "I got away with it." He said, "I know." He said, "But they're shooting you tomorrow."
Irishman went for a job in the pits. He said, have you ever worked down the pit before?" He said, "No, sir, I haven't." He said, "Well,
we only take experienced men. But he's walking out, another Irishman going in, he says, tell him you worked in the pits before. Yorkshire, Wales anyway. He said, but tell him you worked in the pit before. So he went in and he said, have you ever worked in the pit before? He says, sir, I worked in the pits in Wales. He said, what lamps do they use? He said, I don't know that, sir. I was never on the night shift.
This fellow at the bookmakers, he said, that horse there, Salutation, what's the odds? Bookmaker said, oh, it's a donkey, that. 100 to 1. He said, £10 on the nose, please. 100 to 1. He said, you lose your money. Go on then. Took the bet. It won 15 lengths. He's paying him out. 1, 2, 3, 4. He said, where'd you get this one? He said, well, it's sentimental reasons. Many years ago, my wife and I, she's now gone, we had a honeymoon cruise on a ship called the Salutation. I thought I'd back it today. Same name. Pity it wasn't the Titanic. And this fella, that's true this fella, he'd never backed a winner. In 25 years, never backed a winner. So the bookmaker sees him on, he said, I got a bet. He said, no betting for me today, I've finished. I've had £1 a day every time there's racing for 25 years, never backed a winner, I've finished. But he said, come on, I'll give you a chance. Come inside, look. He said, look, I've got 10 pieces of paper here. I'll write numbers on 1 to 10. If you pick number 9 out, I'll give you 50 quid for nothing. Well, that's fair enough. He wrote number 9 on every piece of paper, give him a chance. 10 number 9s, put them in the hat. He said, right, take it out. He went, 6 and 7 8s. Clean that as well, wasn't it? Eh? Clean. Makes a change for me, I tell you. This is true. This same fellow with no luck is going past this building site, and a fellow got a sheet of glass and it took his left ear off. He picked up, he said, God blimey. He got a bit of Bostic, and he stuck it back. Here. And he went in this pub, and there's a big Irish fellow at the bar. He said, I bet you £5 I can do something you can't do. But he said, you're on. You put a £5 down. Paddy put his £5 down. The fellow put his £5 down. He said, I bet you can't bite your ear like me. I says, boys, your ear. Let's have a look. Pulled his ear off like that. He went, oh. I said, oh, just a minute. Took his teeth out, went, oh.
There's a fella, he's got race horses. 4 of them, and 3 of them are good horses. They win in all the time, always won, but one of them always fell out of bed, never won a race in its life. And he walked up to the horse in the stable and he went, come here, come here. He said, now listen to me, horse. Listen to me. If you don't win a race, the next time I put you out, I'm going to give you a milkman to pull a milk cart. 2 weeks later, he's in his next race. 48 lengths behind his. And it was only a 5 furlong race. And they're going down like that, and jockey's going in, come on, wallop. And the horse went, use your brains, I've got to be up early in the morning.
Mind you, all the we got this woman where I live, and she's a real smarty pants. And during the coal strike, what she did, she went to night school to learn how to speak French, so she could baffle all her friends because she knew we were going in the common market. And she got a little coffee morning there. One morning, she went over to the telephone, she lifted up the phone, she said, hello, is that the coal man? Could I have 5 bags of coal, s'il vous plaît? S'il vous plaît in a mining village. Al Coleman's a bit clever. He said, certainly, madam. How do you want the delivery? Cul-de-sac or a la carte?
There's 2 magistrates, both get caught in a radar trap speeding. 2 magistrates, radar trap, speeding. And it so happened, coincidental, on the summons for court, they both got the same date, and it was wrong on both summonses. They arrived there a day early, and there's nobody else in the place. So one said to the other one, well, seeing as how we're both magistrates, why not hear each other's cases, like? He said, that sounds all right. So one got on the bench, the other got on the dock. He said, you're accused of speeding, how do you plead? He said, guilty. He said, right, find a £5. They swapped over. He said, you're accused of speeding, how do you plead? He said, guilty. He said, right, 21 days. He said 21 days? Hold on a minute. I only find you a £5. He said, listen, this is the second case of speeding we've had today. It's got to stop. Go on.
This lorry driver came over from Manchester to Doncaster to buy 600 large chickens that were going cheap on the market. He put the 600 live chickens in the back of his lorry. He saw this Pakistani gentleman selling parrots £1 each. The green parrots, they weren't quite ripe. He said to Pakistani, I said, I want a parrot for my wife. He said, I don't do swaps. He said, no, I'll pay cash. Pakistan, one parrot, £1, please. Well, he gave the Pakistani lad £1, took the parrot, put in the back with the 600 live chickens, and he set off to drive over Woodhead back to Manchester to resell the chickens on the market to make a profit. Driving along, thinking of the long, lonely journey ahead, when he saw this young girl wearing a pair of very tight hot pants. Well, you know what lorry drivers are. They'll give anybody a lift. Well, he pulled up, and she got him beside him, and straight away, he was there. He's a smooth talker. Very romantic. Hey up. Give us a kiss. No, well, get out. She got a girl in a miniskirt got in, same thing. Hey up, give us a kiss. No, get out. This happened to 27 different girls, they all said no. Now the 28th was a redhead. She had no hair, just a redhead. He pulled up, she got in straight away. Hey up, give us a kiss. Yes, please. He couldn't believe his luck. He pulled into a lay-by. He's not there 5 minutes. There's a knock on his cabin door. Who is it? The police. He thought, God. He got out there. Good constable, Afterbull. Can I help you? Cops, all right. Get your licence out. Get your logbook. I'm going to book you for carrying an insecure load on the public highway. He said, what are you talking about, insecure? He said, look at the back of your lorry. He went round the back. There's a line of chickens walking in single file. He said, hang about, I'll check up. He lifted the flap. There's a parrot with a chicken. Hey up, give us a kiss. No, get out. Hey up, give us a kiss. No, get out. Hey up, give us a kiss. No, get out. Thank you. Thank you.
As a little woman, she sat there with a little cat, sat by the fire, mind her own business, just sat there, touching the fire, and suddenly out of the fire jumps a spark. And it's a fairy. And the fairy said, excuse? No, it's a real fairy. She said, I'm your fairy godmother. I've brought you 3 wishes. What would you like, eh? She said, a fairy godmother? She said, yes, you've got 3 wishes. She said, well, I wish I was a young girl again. And the fairy went, and she's a gorgeous looking young girl, 23 years old. She said, you still got 2 wishes left. What would you like? She said, well, I wish I had plenty of money. And the fairy went, and the place was full of money everywhere, couldn't budge. She said, you've still got 1 wish left. Well, she said, my cat's been with me a long time. I wish he was a big, handsome, strapping prince. And the fairy went, and the cat's a big, handsome prince with muscles all rippling. And he took hold of this young girl in his arms and he kissed her and he cuddled her. He said, oh, I bet you wish you'd never take me to the vet. This woman drank a half bottle of gin in the morning. She drank a half bottle of gin at dinner time, a half bottle of gin at tea time, stoned all day long. The husband's fed up. He said, oh, I'm sick of this. Oh, God, I'm sick of this. I must cure her. I've got to stop her drinking. Then he thought, I'll frighten her. So one day when she's really stoned, he got hold of her, put her in the car, took her down to the undertaker's, into the back, and laid her out in a coffin, just there. And just before she was waking up, the undertaker put all flour over his face, and he laid alongside of her. And she sat up, she went, you know, when you've been drinking, you're always dry. And he sat up with a white face. She said, oh, who are you? He said, I am a dead body. She said, oh, what am I doing here? He said, you are dead. She said, where am I? He said, through drink you came down. I'm not frightening you, am I? I don't want to frighten you. You came down and down. She said, how long have I been here then? He said, you have been here for 12 hours. She said, how long have you been here? He said, I've been here for 40 years. She said, you'll know the place better than me. Nip out and get me half bottle of gin, will you?
Hey, I got home late one night. I hadn't been in the house 5 minutes and it was freezing cold, pitch black. And I heard this rustling and this clanking, as if someone was messing about in our dustbin outside. And you know me, I don't hesitate where there's any trouble. So I just peeped through the curtains and I saw this tramp messing about in our dustbin. I thought, right, you. So I just opened the door and I said, what are you doing in our dustbin? He said, I'm looking for something to eat. I haven't eaten for 3 days. I said, wait here, you. So I went back in the house and I came back out. I said, yeah, I'll take that. He said, what's that? I said, that's a candle so you can see what you're doing.
4 skinheads walked into a boozer. Went over to the bar and went, excuse me, pal. Yeah. Said, gives 4 points, cousin, hurry up. Barman bought up 4 points. They got the 4 points, they're drinking there, and out the corner of their eye, they seen one of these bowler-hatted fellas sitting at a table. The leader of these skinheads walks over, he went, hello, pal. You look a right prawn sitting there, don't you? This fella in the bowler hat got up, got hold of this skinhead, and he went, nya, wha. Right aside of it, the skinhead went spark out. He said to his friends when he wakes up, tell him that was a 1972 karate chop, will you? And walked out. These skinheads walked back in the following night. This guy's got a big lump on his neck. Walks up with this fella with a bowler hat and he went, wallop, 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 dink, dink, dink. Geezer was spark out. He said when he wakes up, tell him that was a 1937 Morris starting handle.
Where did tell you? The Palomai's not too good up there, you know. He was... Oh, the old brain wasn't going too well. He decided he would go and get himself a new brain and have a transplant job done. So he went along to the brain shop. He says, the fella, I want to buy one of these brains. I'm having a transplant job done. The fella says, well, how much do you want to pay? He said, well, how much are they? He said, well, there's a brain here. He says, £350 belong to an accountant. It's a very good one, he says. He says, oh, there's this one here. He says, belong to a solicitor. He says, 600 quid. He says, oh, this one here, an Irish novice one, 1,250 quid. The fella says, excuse me, how come the Irish novice is so expensive? The fella says, well, it's never been used. I must tell you this. Before I go. Murphy's youngest brother, Seamus, lost an eye in a car accident, God love him. And he went to the opticians to get a new glass eye fitted. And the optician says, I'm very sorry, Mr. Murphy, we're out of glass eyes this morning. But there's a new eye on the market here. It's made out of wood. It's a plastic wood, much lighter than the glass eye. It's a wooden eye. I think you'll like it. Murphy says, I'll try it. So they stuck this wooden eye in his head. And they bored a wee hole in it so he could see through it, you know. That night, what? Oh, listen. That night, him and Casey were going to a dance. And they spot these 2 birds the other side of the room. Casey said, I'll take the blonde one, and you take the brunette. Casey loves blondes, you know. He'd squeeze in blackheads. So Murphy's heading towards his one with a wooden eye on his head. And he gets about 2 foot away from her. And he gets a close-up of her. And you want to see the gob in it. Oh, it's desperate. All teeth. Looks like Ken Dodd in a pair of hot pants. It's too late to go back. He looks down at her and he says, would you care to dance? And she says, wouldn't I? Good night.
Laugh, I nearly passed my fags round. Had it? Nice to be with you. So Di and Blodwin got married first night. There they were, on the cells by their own, as was their wont. In the bedroom. And Blodwin got into bed. There she is, lying there, all ready. And Di got undressing, and he looked across at Blodwin, and she's crying, willy-nilly. In gay abandon. And he said, Blodwin, why you crying then? It is, you are, I said for Why you crying? And she looked at him tear-laden. She said, well, she said, I never had a man before, she said. I never had a man. Well, he said, there's no need to weep and gnash and that, is there? So what are you doing? He said, I'm going home. So I got dressed, went home to his mother. No, walked in. His mother said, well, what you doing home then, Di? On your wedding night? It is, then, Cardiff. He said, I've come home, he said, my first night, I walk in the bedroom, he said, and there she is, crying her eyes out. She said she's never had a man before, she's never had one before. His mother said, you did right to come home, Di. If she's not good enough for the boys in the village, she's not good enough for you. Telling you.
Casey invested £80 in the Shamrock Building Society at Ballynewton go backwards. They held a meeting of the creditors. They went bankrupt in 3 weeks. So Flanagan got up and says, the meeting's called to order, the 7 of us. And he got up and says, what about my £80? Just a second, sit down, the meeting's called to order. Now, when the concrete mixer fell down the road and the drum burst on it and the cement went over the road, we lost £74. He says, what about my £80? Sit down, will you? Sit down. And then, when someone put a match to the paraffin to dry out the sand and burned the roof off, that was another 600 quid down. What about my £80? Just a minute, you. Now, you're a nuisance. We're going to make you a preferential creditor. Oh, he said, thank you very much. And he sat down. A minute later, he says, just a minute. What do you mean by a preferential creditor? He says, well, you'll be the first to know you've nothing coming back. Fellow on board the ship one night, and he's just going to fall asleep, and he hears pot, 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 and he jumps out, switches the light on, and he can see nothing. He says, a haunted ship. So he's just getting back into the bed, and he's falling asleep, and he hears pot, 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 pot. He jumps out of bed, and he switches on it. Nothing. He can see nothing. So he gets frightened, you see, says a few prayers, and stands beside the light, switches it off, and he hears pot, 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 pot. He switches on the light, and it's a mouse running along the hot pipe, and it's going pot, 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 pot.
Two lads talking. One says, where are you going to go for your holidays? He says, I'll tell you where I'm going. I'm doing both voices here, look. Where are you going for your holidays? I'll tell you where I'm going. It's me acting, I can do them. Where are you going for your holidays? He said, I'll tell you where I'm going. I'm going to take the wife, the family, and the car, and I'm going to drive around Europe. He said, I want to find out how common these common market countries are before we join them. He said, look, he said, if you're going to Europe, don't take the car. They drive on the other side of the road, it's dangerous. He said, they don't drive on the other side of the road in Europe, it's in America they do that. I've got an auntie, she lives over there, she's a policeman, she's told me. He said, it isn't, he said, it's in Europe they do it. He said, it isn't, he said, it is. He said, it isn't. He said, it is. He said, don't take the car, they drive on the other side of the road. He met him 2 weeks later. He said, are you still going? He said, oh, yes. He said, I'm not taking the car. He said, why not? Well, he said, I phoned up the AA. They told me they do drive on the other side of the road. I tried it going from Rotherham to Barnsley. It's dangerous, isn't it? This fella, he spent £5,000-6,000, all his life savings to teach his daughter how to be a lady and to speak properly. He sent her to finishing school and everything. And she came back. She'd just come out of finishing school and she said, Father, she said, I'm sorry, she says, but I'm going to have a baby. And he said, what? I'm doing voices again, look. What? She said, I'm going to have a baby. He said, love, he said, I've worked all my life and I've saved money and I've sent you for a good education, sent you to finishing school and everything, and you're still saying I'm gonna.
So J. Arthur Rank's making a film. I've got to be quick with this one. He's making this film in the jungle. Out in the middle of Africa. It's out. Sammy Thomas was with him anyway. And it's a big epic. And what's more, it's a spectacular. There's a lot in it. It's all happening. There's Charlton Heston in it, Maria Callas, the lot. Soprano job, dip your bread in, everything. Tell them what. Keep going, you swine. He said, no, it's a big thing, this. It's a big film. He said, in the climax of the film, and they built this village in the middle of the jungle, in a clearing. No less. Hacked the trees down, got wimpies in, bulldozers, got them away. Cleared. And he built this village full of mud huts. All built, cost him £1 million. And J. Arthur said, that's it. Now and they did the whole film, big sequences, camera fives, everything. Tell them nothing. Built it up. Let them buy a programme. Built it up. And he did the whole film. He filmed it up, the apes, everything, filmed it all. And the climax of the film was where they set fire to this village. Yeah. And he did £1 million, right? He said, are you ready? He said, now we must film the climax, set fire to the village. Petrol all over, on the mud, the thatching, the bricks, Norai bricks, the lot. Built it all, built. Petrol. Now, he said, camera one. He said, get yourself down here in this grass verge and film it, close up. He said, get it, when I tell, film it. Right? He said, now don't spoil it. Because he said, I have a lot of money on it. He said, camera two, he said, we built a little hut. It's asbestos lined. You'll be in the middle of the fire. He said, and when I give you the nod, he said, when I give you the nod, film it through this little slit. Get it from the inside. He said, camera three, I'm going to put you in the woods. He said, you'll be between the trees. Film it from there. He said, I want you to pan across. Dip, across. When I give you the... Right, he said. Camera four, he said, get up on that hill. Up there. Get yourself up. Get it set up. He said, and you film it. Get a distance shot. Get it all. He said, now don't spoil it. He said, because that's it. We built up wimpies, cost a fortune. Everything. Right. Right. He said, right. He said, set fire to the... Off it goes. £1 million going up. The logs are crashing, the thatching's it's coming down. And there he is, J. Arthur, watching with pride. He thinks, what a spot, look at the scene. Oh, it's all happening. And there it is, at the end of the flames, everything's down in bits. Embers, no less. And he walked across, he said to camera number, he said, how did you get on the grass verge? He said, did you get some good shots? He said, well, I'm sorry about this. He said, but he said, I were too close to the fire. And the heat, it melted my lens and I've nothing. He thought, well, I've 3 more, I'm not bothered. How did you get on in the asbestos? Well, he said, this asbestos is no good. He's got me film, he said it all crumbled and fell out, molten, willy-nilly, on my feet, nothing. He thought, well, I've got it, never mind. How did you get on in the trees? He said, well, I'm sorry about this. He said, when I was panning, I caught the front of the camera in a lens and it broke it. Front of the camera in a branch, he said, pulling the gag out. Sorry, John, it won't go out again, this. And he said, I'm sorry about that. He said, but I've nothing. Oh, well, he said, never mind, I've got this distance shot. He looked at me. How did you get up? How did you... Oh, up on the hill. Did you get it? He said, ready when you are.
He's walking into a building site the other day looking for a job. He meets Casey coming out. Casey said, Murphy, don't waste your time getting in there, son. You'll never get the job. There's 150 fellas have already applied for one vacancy, and you'll never get it because there's an intelligence test. And you're a bit of thick side, take my word for it. Murphy says, I'll take me chance with the rest of them. He walks in, half an hour later he comes out, he says, I got the job. Casey said, what about the intelligence test? Oh, Murphy says, I passed them with flying colours. There was only one question, what's 3 sevens? And I said, 85. Casey said, but 3 sevens isn't 85. Murphy says, no, but I was the nearest one to it. He's very fond of the drink. He went out the other night, 19 pints of draft Drambuie. He's coming home along the canal bank stoned out of his mind. He's been stoned more times than Londonderry. Well, there's a fella drowning in the canal, and Murphy, feeling very brave with all the drink down him, jumped in, rescued this fella from drowning, and went home, went to bed. 3 o'clock in the morning, there's a knock on the door. Gets up and opens the door. There stands the police. Mr. Murphy, says he, did you rescue somebody from drowning in the canal tonight? He said, as a matter of fact, I did, Ossiver. I didn't want any medals for it. Oh, the puppy says, we didn't come with any medals. We just came to tell you, God love you, you wasted your time, because he hung himself. Murphy says, no, he didn't, sir. I put him up there to dry.
Pardon? You can't see me? How's that? I'll do that again. This is true, this. I like these daft jokes. I went to the doctor last week. I said, Doctor, I've got a stitch. He said, so? I've got 2 kids, 7 and 2. Funny names. My little lad is only 7. He said to me, Daddy, 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 Daddy. Thinks he's got 3 dads. He's got 4 fathers. He said, Daddy, what's brown, lives at the bottom of the sea, and stabs mermaids? I said, I give in. He said, Jack the Kipper. Clean, isn't it? Clean. I love kids. I used to go to school with them. I still do. I take mine. I've got a dog at home. It's a one-man dog. It only bites me. The first day I got this dog, it went upstairs to the landing. It did something on the carpet. I thought, the dirty little dog. It tinkled. I thought, I'll train it. So I grabbed the dog by the scruff of the neck. I rubbed his nose in what he'd done. Then I threw him down the stairs. Gently. 3 flights. I did that every day for a month. I never missed. Now he comes in the house, goes up the landing, he does it, he rubs his own nose, he throws himself down the stairs.
Got any married people here tonight at all? Anybody married? No, you're all happy, are you? Don't do it. They change. I was lucky to get here tonight. Leaving the house, she's standing in the doorway.
Hope you realise it's 5 years tonight since you last took me out.
Happy anniversary.
You don't care about me.
You don't understand.
You don't love me anymore.
You don't understand.
Just because I got fat and ugly.
Now you understand. Oh, dear. Oh, she doesn't turn out like a mother. Oh, dear, the mother-in-law. What a woman. She came to visit us last Wednesday. You can always tell when she's coming to the door. All the mice jump into the traps. What a face. When she puts her lipstick on, it backs away down the tube. Oh, no, she's an ugly woman. 28 stone she weighs, 28 stone. Gets her knickers from Rent-A-Tent. Then there's her husband, my father-in-law. We call him Vesuvius. He's always belching and dropping ash. Actually, father-in-law breeds pigs. I know, I married one of them. Never forget the day, the wedding. Remember it as though it was yesterday. If it had been tomorrow, I wouldn't go. After the ceremony, the vicar held his hand out. I said, how much do you want? He said, give me what you think it's worth. So I gave him a couple of bob. He took a look at the missus and gave me 1 and 9 change.
There's a bird sitting in a bath, so this is true as it happens. Sitting there in a bath. Wee. Out come the window cleaner. Bird thought to herself, I'll get him out of here. She went, window cleaner, nothing. The bird got out of the bath, walked over to the window, about 6 inches from the window, and went, Wallop, Wallop. Window cleaner went, what's the matter, girl? Never seen a window cleaner before?
But I came home drunk one night, which is very rare for me because I never go home. And there's the dog. I thought, I'll teach him to talk, I'll have a talking dog, I'll make a fortune. Talking dog. I picked him up and I sat him on some sandpaper. I said, now then, son, how's your bum? He said, rough. I've got a talking cat, you know. I've got a talking cat in my house. I came home drunk one night. It's becoming a real occurrence, this. And I couldn't get in the house. It was locked on the inside. So I'm knocking on the door, ringing the bell, nothing. Tap on the window. The plumber's mad. I looked through the letterbox. There's a cat sat on the landing. You'll try anything when you're drunk to get in. I said, puss, 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 puss. Open the door for Daddy. Cat looked up and said, me out.
So this fella married this ugly woman. Oh, she was horrible, all hanging and bleh. Eyebrows on her like yard brushes. So his mate said, what'd you marry her for? He said, smashing singer. Lovely singer. He said, you what? He's a great singer, yeah, you know. So that night in bed, she takes her makeup off. Ooh. She said, Henry, he said, for God's sake, sing us a song.
There were two kids at school. They started school when they were 5, and they hated each other from the word go, and they went through all the schools together, hating each other, through public school, university, the lot, and they still hated each other. And when they left, one of them went into the church and became a bishop, and the other one went in the Navy and became an admiral. And they never met for about 40 years, and they were both on Euston Station in London, and the niggle was still there. They still thought about it, and the bishop went up to the admiral. He said, excuse me, porter. What time's the next train for Manchester? And the admiral looked at the bishop and he said, 6 o'clock, madam.
There's St. Peter, St. Paul, and Jesus, or as he's known today, JC, playing golf. St. Paul tees off, see? Lovely shot, straight down the fairway, lands on the apron of the green and stops 3 foot from the hole. St. Paul tees off, another lovely shot, straight down the fairway, lands on the apron of the green, stops 2 foot from the hole. JC tees off. Well, a beautiful shot, straight down the fairway, lands on the apron of the green, rolls so close to the hole, if there'd been that much wind, the ball would have gone in, but it stopped. As the ball stopped, the rabbit's come run out the wood, got all the ball between its claws, run back in the wood, out through the other side of the wood. As it's come out the other side, an eagle's come down, crunch, got hold of the rabbit, took it up in the air, 100 yards, 200 yards, 300 yards, 400 yards, 500 yards, half a mile, mile, 2 mile. When the rabbit got to 2 mile, let go of the ball come down, bounced 4 times on the green, went straight in the hole. Jesus said, don't mess about, Dad, we're playing for money.
75 years ago, this farmer and his daughter were going to the bank. The bag of gold sovereigns, horse and trap. Overtook by thieves. Stripped them, left them in the middle of the road there, not a stitch on. Took the horse and trap, the lot. He said, well, we haven't got a carrot now. He said, they've took the lot. She said, didn't get the bag of sovereigns, Dad. He said, why? Where'd you hide them? She said, in my mouth. He said, it's a pity we didn't fetch your mother with her to save the horse and trap.
Give us. Fellow went to a restaurant, he said to the waiter, he said, what's on the menu? He said, tongue. Oh, he said, I couldn't have that. He said, I couldn't eat tongue. He said, I couldn't eat nothing out of an animal's mouth. Oh, no, he said, I couldn't. He said, get me 2 eggs. We went abroad the other week, a few of us went abroad, and I always remember there was one chap on the aeroplane, he had a bit of a, some people they don't get some, and he wasn't very well. And she was marvellous, the woman, the girl that comes up and down, the hostess, she was wonderful. She treated him for everything, she put a sort of a cold compress on the bridge of his nose and he keyed on the back of his neck and wrapped him in a blanket and gave him some hot, sweet tea and sort of treated him for shock. And she said, how do you feel now? He said, oh, much better, thank you, miss. She said, anything else you want before we take off? And is that gone off? We were up in the sky, it was very high, and the pilot's voice came across, said, good evening, everyone. We are flying at 35,000 feet. The fellow in front of me said, oh my God! And the voice said, yes, my son. Fellow came home from work. He said to his wife, he said, I just heard a very strong rumour, and the milkman has made love to every woman in this street except one. His wife said, I bet it's that stuck-up cow at number 98.
Fellow went to the doctors, he said, have you got anything to make me sweat? The doctor said, yes, I'll sign you off. Yeah. 2 hens on a farmyard. One hen looked at the other and said, here comes that cross-eyed cock. Let's separate her, he'll miss us both. Hey, it's nice to be here, lovely. Tell them nothing, let them buy a programme. Enjoy yourself. Spinster, 75 years old.
Little bit worried, getting on, she thought, I'll arrange my funeral. Went to the undertaker, she said, I'd like to arrange my funeral. She said, I'm 75, I'm getting on a bit. Would you mind helping me sort it out? The undertaker said, certainly. He said, we've got mahogany, we've got oak, we've got... You can have brass, bronze, lead handles, tell them nothing, dip your bread in, anything you like. He said, now normally, he said, for a spinster, we have white lining to the coffin. And for a married lady, it's usually mauve. She said, well, I'll have a white lining, but could I have a little bit of mauve round the edges?
Murphy runs into Casey. He says, Casey, what are you doing with all them scratches on your face? Casey said, I'm learning to eat with a fork. Never mind, it's bad enough. Actually, Murphy's a desperate man. He's Irish, through a friend of his father's. Desperate man for fighting. He's in a pub the other night, and he's fighting with this English fella, and the manager says, no fighting in here, says he. Get out the side if you're going to fight, and fight in the car park. And he says, and if you're going to fight, says he, I wanted to finish very quickly, says he. The first one that's had enough, say, sufficient. And they're out there fighting, 3 hours, the blood's pouring off Murphy. This English fella eventually said, sufficient. Murphy says, thank God for that. I've been trying to think of that word for the last 2 hours.
Well, I'm daft jokes, you know. Fellow walking along Blackpool limping. His mate said, Mick, what's the matter with your foot? Your leg? He said, my dog bit it. He said, why didn't you get it destroyed? He said, how can I walk on one leg? See, Georgie Best said he's not playing football anymore. He's signing for Everton.
Do you know, ladies and gentlemen, the police have got a new colour for the cars now. Shrubbery. No, this is true. I was driving here today and a dirty big forest pulled alongside me. And a big 6'12" tree got out. With stripes on his branches. I felt like a dog. It's terrible. But you know... Have you noticed how very kind, very considerate and very helpful the police are? They always sort of sit in the police cars on the alert, sort of always ready to help, always on the alert, kind of hidden behind a bush. Or in a dark, secluded lay-by, waiting for a poor innocent driver to come along so they can book him. And if there's any here today, I'm only kidding. And the conversation in the police car goes something like this. He said, you're all right, Jack. I've had this stretch for the past 5 years and I know it like the back of my hand. We'll get one, sit tight. Don't you worry. And just then, this little old A35 went trickling past the front of the lay-by. Johnny Hamp. The policeman turned to his mate and he said, that's our man. He said, get after him. So they pulled out behind this A35 and, you know, he was travelling down the road a foot from the curb, 30 miles an hour. He came to a zebra crossing, stopped at the zebra crossing, let the people across, gave the lollipop man a wave, pulled away in first gear, second gear, third gear into top, foot from the curb, 30 miles an hour. Came to a set of lights, stopped on red, didn't go in amber, waited for green. Gently pulled away in first gear, second gear, third gear into top, a foot from the curb, 30 miles an hour. Came to a roundabout, indicated left, went round a roundabout in third gear, knocked his indicator off, into top, straight ahead, a foot from the curb, 30 miles an hour. Came to a corner, decided to turn right, so he looked in his mirror, indicated, and pulled to the crown of the road. Now he stopped there and he kept by the law and he waited till all was clear. Then he went round the corner in first gear, second gear, third gear into top, a foot from the curb, 30 miles an hour. And the police are still behind him. Keep with him, Jack. He'll do something wrong in a minute, you mark my words. Oh. 1 mile over 30, we'll have him. Stick with him. Don't switch your sign, or he'll see us. Stick with him. Meanwhile, this little A35 continued to proceed down the road a foot from the curb, 30 miles an hour, and by this time he'd come to another zebra crossing. So he stopped at the zebra crossing, let the people across, the kids, the prams, Batman. Gave the lollipop man a wave, picked Squawk up. Pulled away in first gear, second gear, third gear into top, a foot from the curb, 30 miles. Am I boring you, by the way? Up a humpback bridge, down the other side, a foot from the curb, 30 miles an hour. And the policeman turned to his mate and he said, pull him in, Jack, he's too good for us. I'm not kidding you, this police car was in front of this A35 in a flash. The policeman got out, he walked over, he said, good evening, sir. He said, you realise my colleague and I have been following you for the past few miles? And he said, you know, you've been travelling down the road, foot from the going through Milan, kind of zebra crossing, stop at zebra crossing, the people can still a button away, pull away first gear, second gear, third gear, stop, foot from the going through Milan, kind of still light, stop and red to go in about, whatever you can, pull away first gear, second gear, third gear, stop, foot from the going through Milan, kind of roundabout, they're going to run about, third gear, grab the top, set ahead, foot from the going through Milan, kind of a corner, decided to right, looked in the minute, you're going to pull around the road, you stop. He said, I kept the road away, that's all I was clear, the minute, corner, first gear, second gear, third gear, another zebra crossing, suddenly the people against the road, back, make it the bottom. Am I boring you, by the way? I'm a home back road, down the other side. He said, I'm fucking let go. 30 miles an hour. We've been following you. He said, how'd you do it? The fella got out the car and he said, you've got to be careful when you've had a few.
This Jewish fella, Amy Goldberg, went to join this golf club. He says, name? He says, Amy Goldberg. He says, we don't allow Jews in this golf club, he says. Sorry. Like, he went back the next week. He says, name? He says, John Carruthers. He said, that's typically English name, that, lovely. Membership card, the lot. So he joins in, lovely big swimming pool there. Amy dives in, freezing cold. He come out the other end, he went, oi vey. Whatever that means. Matt Busby says to Frank O'Farrell, who told you to buy Ian more? He says, you. He said, I said, get 9 more. Fella selling cup final tickets outside Wembley Stadium. Bloke went up. Said, how much? He said, a tenner. He said, I can get a woman for that. He said, I know, but you won't get 45 minutes each way in a band at half time.
Fella's lying in bed to his old woman. She's lying there, she's pregnant, she's expecting a baby any minute. And they're lying in bed at 3 o'clock in the morning. She went, oh, hold up. He said, what? She said, I think the baby's coming. He went, oh, turn it in, you don't mean it, do you? He said, yeah, the baby's coming. So he went outside, jumped on his bike, pedalled 45 mile for the midwife. Got on a crossbar, pedalled all the way back. On the way back, the lights go out. Wallop, power cut. They get to the house. She went, quick, first thing we need is boiling water, plenty of boiling water. So he boils a lot of water up. She went, now go outside, we've got no light, get on your bike, pedal your bike as fast as you can and prop it up so we get plenty of light shining in the window. So there he was. And the light was flickering away like a lunatic. She come out half hour later, he said, here, you've got a lovely bouncing baby boy. He said, oh, handsome. She went, it ain't over yet, keep pedalling, keep pedalling. She come out 20 minutes later, she got twins. But it ain't over yet. Keep pedalling, keep pedalling. Come out an hour later, you got 4, beautiful 4 of them. But it ain't over yet. Keep pedalling, keep pedalling. And the light kept flickering in the window. She said, it ain't over yet. You got 5 now. You got 5. But keep. He said, do you think it's the light that's attracted them?
We got Mary laughing, so we're all right. Is that the suit? Is that the suit? New suit? Dead unlucky, me. Bought 2 pair of trousers, burnt a hole in the coat. French woman in hospital in the maternity ward. She turned to the woman in the next bed. She said, parlez-vous français? She says, no. Chevrolet coupe on the road to Blackpool. Little lad on Withershore Estate went to the grocer's. He said, can I have a tin of milk for my mum? He said, for your mother? Anything for your mother. Good woman, your mother. Your father? Nothing. Your mother? She's a belter. Tin of milk. They are, son. He said, we've got no tin of. Would you open the milk for us, my mum said. He said, for your mother? Anything, son, he said. They are, son. For your mother. Your father? Nothing. He said, my dad said if we can't have 10 Woodbines on the boot while Monday, we don't want the milk.
A woman sends off one of these old charms, you know, these cigarette coupons. She sends, saved for months, a load of cigarette coupons, you see, and sent them off to one of these firms that give gifts for cigarette coupons. One of these old chimers, you know, these old chimers, ding dong. She got it and she unwrapped it and put it up, you see, and her husband came home and said, Mary, did the old chimer come? She said, it's funny, she said, why? She said, it doesn't go ding dong, it goes. I'll have the cigarette coupons blocking me now, won't I? Terrible people. And see that Joe Mayer said the reason why he's left City. To tell you the reason, it's unofficial, of course. Malcolm Allison collapsed last week during training, and Mayer had to give him the kiss of life. He fell in. Two Irish fellas talked to me. He said, "Can you count, Pat?" He said, "I can, Dad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He said, "It's fantastic. Can you count any higher?" "Oh," he said, "I can, Dad. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Drunk about stone out his head every day, shouting, "Moon ribbon, wide are that a mile." The vicar saw me say, "That's terrible. You as drunk as that." He said, "I can't help it. I just like me drink, a good pub. Have a couple of pints and it just leads on to a cup of whiskey. I just get drunk, I enjoy it." He said, "The next day you are passing a pub, you stand in front of the pub and you stand there like that and you breathe in and you say, 'Get thee behind me, Satan.'" He said, "I do." "Get thee behind me, Satan." That's what you do, he said. Met him 2 days later, stoned out his head. He said, "Did you do that?" He said, "Yes." I walked past the pub and I stood in front of the tap room door and I went, "Satan, get thee behind me." And he did, and he shoved me straight through the door.
There was this fellow went to this tartan shop in Edinburgh. He said to the fellow behind the counter, "I want to buy 7 yards of Dunlop tartan." The fellow says, "There's no such tartan as Dunlop." He was Welsh. He said, "I want 7 yards of Dunlop tartan, I'll pay cash." He said, "There's no such tartan as Dunlop." He said, "I want 7 yards of Dunlop tartan, cash." The man said, "Just a minute." And he got this big bolt of tartan down, measured 7 yards. He said, "There you are." He said, "Thank you very much." And he went away happy. The assistant said, "That wasn't a Dunlop tartan. That was McIntyre." He said, "Well, Dunlops have been McIntyres for years."
Millionaire walks into this post office. He sees this old couple at the pension box. Railings, pension books, dip your breath, they're there. Put it in there. The millionaire looked at him, and there they were, a long overcoat button. Oh, he thought, oh. And he went to the fella, he said, "Get yourselves in that taxi, the pair of you, out there, get down to the London Hilton, have a month on me. Off you go." So they go down to the Hilton, you see, and a month later, the millionaire rings the Hilton. He said, "Could I speak to..." "Yes. Hello? Have you enjoyed it? Have you enjoyed your holiday?" He said, "Great, but who's this woman I've been sleeping with for this last month?" Who is this woman? Who is this woman? I've got a mate, he's obsessed with... Laugh, I nearly passed me fags round. I did. I've got a mate, he's obsessed with poaching. He will poach. Willy-nilly in gay abandon. As is his wont. Tell her nothing. And he's there on the banks of the river and he sees these ducks. They're swimming about on the river, wildly. Webbed feet akimbo. Flip, flip, flip. He thinks, "I'll poach a duck." Swimming around. And this duck perchances to swim near to the bank. As was its wont. And this mate of mine grabbed the duck feverishly. And proceeded to pluck the duck. Yeah. And he's covered in feathers, sat on the bank. But and he gazes through the undergrowth and he sees the gamekeeper coming down through the forestry with his gun in his hand. And he gets panic stroke. He's upset. And he throws the duck back into the river and he's sat there on the bank, legs akimbo, covered in feathers. And the gamekeeper comes through the clearing and he sees him standing there covered in feathers, sitting on himself by his own. Covered in feathers. He said, "You're poaching." He said, "I'm not poaching." He said, "Well, what's the idea of all the feathers?" He said, "That duck there is having a swim and I'm looking after its claws."
Two astronauts went to the moon, couldn't get on. Full moon.
No, this is right, no. There were two blokes went to rob a bank. This is true, this. They went to rob this bank, you know, and one went in, see, with gun and lot, and others stopped outside, you know, engine ticking over, you know, ready for fast getaway. And he's there about 5-7 minutes. All of a sudden his mate comes flashing out at the bank, into the car. So he says to his mate, he says, "I hope you remembered to wear your silk stocking." He says, "Of course I did." He says, "They'll never recognise my leg anywhere."
Fellow stuck on the M1, the AA come out, he said, "Your battery's flat." He said, "Well, what shape should it be?"
Hey, hold on. There was a dustbin man, a right nice fella, collecting dustbins, you know. And he come to this house, and this is right, I'm not correct, dustbin were missing. He thought, there's something wrong here. I better knock on the door. So he went and knocked on the door, and he was knocking for 10 minutes, hammering at that door. And all of a sudden, the door opened, a big coloured woman, she was a whopper. Ooh. He said, "Where's you been?" She said, "I've been to the toilet. Where's you been?"
Mother-in-law got drowned last week and I wish him well. Never knew they worked. I took the mother-in-law up Trafalgar Square. And it's all the pigeons flying about, giving it plenty of that, all over the place. And I got there with a camera, she went, "Take me picture." So I went, hold on. She said, "Take me picture." I said, "Hold on." She got some trap, you know what I mean? And there was this pigeon sitting right on her head, and it went, "Wallop." That's what I've done. Honestly, they laugh. She said, "Don't laugh. Get some paper." I said, "I'm stupid. The bird's miles away by now. What's the matter with you?"
Little boy said, Dad, it's me tortoise, Dad. It's got blisters on its feet." He said, "Oh, don't be bloody stupid, son. Tortoises can't have blisters." He said, "As Daddy has." He said, "We'll take it to the vet." Off they go to the vet. He said, "A tortoise with blisters, impossible. Let me have a look." He said, "My God, it has." He said, "Well, don't cry, son. Don't cry. I'll give you another one." He said, "There we are. What do you think of that?" The kid went, "Oh, that's better."
All right, Mary. Lovely. It's nice to be here. What about Ted Heath? He went to this factory in Birmingham where they make cars, and they're all coming out of the factory for the lunch break. And Ted Heath sees them, and he grabbed one fella. He said, "Can you tell the difference between stork and butter?" And this fella said, "No." And Ted Heath said, "You will next week. You're on 3 days." Funny thing, the dole, isn't it? When you travel about, you have to do the dole. I've a mate of mine, right clever lad, thinks, oh, he's, you know, clever lad. Up here. Has it up here. Oh, he's got it all there. Every week, been going to the dole for 7 years. Every week, goes for his dole. 3 fellas behind the counter, they're there. Every week, they ask the same questions. And he goes in this week, he's feeling a bit, you know, he thinks, I'm fed up with this. He walked in the door, and the first fella said, "Name?" He said, "Joseph." The second fella said, "Wife's name?" He said, "Mary." The third fella said, "Where do you live?" He said, "Bethlehem." And the first fella said, "I've got news for you. The 3 wise men have just stopped your door."
The vicar's bike had gone, wow, away, disappeared. The verger said to him, "I'll tell you what, Reverend," he said, "on Sunday, when you're doing the sermon, why don't you do the 10 Commandments? And when you get to the one, thou shalt not steal, stop. And somebody in the congregation will blush, and your nose got your bite then." So he watched the Reverend, he went all the way through the 10 Commandments, never stopped. He got him afterwards, he said, "Well, I thought you were going to stop." He said, "Well, when I got to thou shalt not commit adultery, I remembered where I'd left my bike."
I'm in this pub, and this fella come with a dog. I said, that's a nice bulldog. He said, it's not a bulldog, it's a greyhound. He ran into a wall chasing a cat. This dog started barking. 20 minutes it was barking. I said, shut up, and I give it a kick. He shut up. Hush puppies.
It's good, that, isn't it? I took the girlfriend out the other day, because I'm married as well, but I asked the wife first, so she said it was all right. And she said, have you noticed anything different about me? I said, no. I said, wait a minute, let me think. It's that new dress, isn't it? She said, no. I said, it's a new coat. She said, no. I said, new shoes. She said, no. I said, I give up. She said, it's his gas mask, and wear it. And what about the pilot flying his passengers across the English Channel, and they ran out of petrol, and he came out of the cockpit with his parachute on, and he said, don't worry, I'm going for help. That woman over there, she went... I'm not scared of her. But I'm not going to look over there after. So this pilot said, don't you set me off. He said, this pilot said, he said, what we must do, he said, I'm going to ask for three. He said, I'm going to ask for 3 volunteers to jump out without parachutes because we haven't got enough to go round. So, this Englishman stood up first and said, God save the Queen. And he jumped out and he said, I'll see you again. And, and then this Frenchman stood up and said, Vive la France. And Auf Wiedersehen, because he spoke German as well. And then this big American stood up and said, remember the Alamo? And he threw a Mexican out.